The Trump administration is on defense this morning as the Justice Department's investigation into Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell and the Fed building renovation gets underway. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett, a potential Powell replacement, responded this morning to a question about whether the president is involved in this investigation.
Do you take him on face value? He had nothing to do with putting pressure on the Justice Department to pursue this?
I think the president has been very vocal about what he thinks about interest rates. I don't think that there's any mystery about that. That he's frustrated that there were big cuts right before the election. He's frustrated that when he came in 2017 that there were big hikes before he's inaugurated. And so he has lots of frustration with what he views as the partisanship of the Fed. But this right here is a legal matter. And again, I've not been briefed on what the Justice Department is thinking. And I expect the president has not as well.
Let's bring in Democratic Congressman Chris Deluzio of Connecticut. First, your reaction to what we just heard from Kevin Hassett. Do you believe the president is not involved?
Well, I should say one thing of Pennsylvania, the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Forgive me, you were right, Congressman. We had it wrong at our script. Thanks for that correction.
That's okay. Look, I have no idea what to think, but I see a clear pattern here from this administration and this Trump administration Justice Department. They are willing to go after political rivals of the president, to threaten, as I think you heard from Mr. Powell last night in his video, what he sees as a clear attempt to whittle away what's left of the independence of the Fed. We can have arguments about how much independence or not the Fed should have. The Congress should be deciding that. You shouldn't have the executive branch using law enforcement power, as Mr. Powell has suggested is happening here. And so it's a clear trend. There are people who are willing to go and punish the president's adversaries and threaten prosecution. Certainly, they've thrown those kinds of, I think, intimidation tactics toward me and my colleagues who are veterans who stated the law. And so I'm not surprised by any of this.
We are beginning to see some Republican reaction, though, to this investigation, and it's not good for the president. Retiring Senator Thom Tillis, the chair of the Banking Committee in the Senate, says he'll hold up all Fed nominees until this legal matter is resolved. And we've seen some other Republicans buck party leadership on things like health care and Venezuela. And now Powell, of course. Are you surprised to see Republicans stand up to the president? Do you expect more of it?
I think there'll be more of them. Look, they can read polls. They can listen to their constituents the same way I can. This president has failed to bring down costs. He is overseeing now spiking healthcare costs in particular for people. And so to see 17 Republicans come with Democrats like me to extend those tax credits, I wish there were more of them. And I wish more of them would start to step up to assert on behalf of the American people war powers, right? You had a handful, 5 in the Senate on that war powers vote. That's not very many. And we haven't seen much out of the House. But again, if you're looking at what is your duty, the oath to the Constitution we all take, you stand up to the American people and you say pretty clearly, do my constituents want their sons and daughters or them sent to go occupy a place like Venezuela, to threaten to invade Greenland, for crying out loud? And the answer is no. I sent a survey out on it. I tell you, my constituents, more than 1,000 responded to the question, do you want to send Americans to go occupy Venezuela for oil? North of 80% said no. This isn't complicated stuff.
Yeah, we've seen similar results reflected in the, polls like Quinnipiac or CBS News and others. NBC News reports President Trump threatened the Republican senators, those 5 you mentioned, who voted to curb his war powers in Venezuela. He called them and had angry phone calls with them last week. Threats in the past we've seen have sort of snapped people back in line, or those folks have been primaried or ended up retiring. Do those threats from the president still carry as much weight?
Who knows? And I think Republican politicians who are afraid, who are scared, who behave like lapdogs, it's weak. It's weak and pathetic stuff. Voters can sniff it. You're not elected to be anybody's lapdog when you go and seek out the high honor of being in the Congress and the House or the Senate. You have an obligation to your constituents and the Constitution. If you're going to be intimidated and be afraid and be weak, it's just pathetic. I wish more of these Republican politicians would grow a spine and stand up, whether it's war powers, healthcare costs, you name it. You've got a duty to your constituents. You shouldn't be so afraid of folks.
President Trump's posting on social media as all this is happening, including this image of a fake Wikipedia page stating he is the acting president of Venezuela, all while saying this last night about Greenland.
On where? Military action?
Greenland. Is there anything they can offer you
Look,
for a deal?
if we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will. And I'm not letting that happen. If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will take Greenland. And I am not going to let that happen.
Is there any deal they can offer you? Is there like
Yeah, sure. I'd love to make a deal with them. It's easier. But one way or the other, we're going to have Greenland.
How does that reflect on the United States? What message is that putting out about this country?
Well, remember, we are NATO allies with Denmark. We are treaty bound to defend each other when they're attacked. And remember, the Danes stepped up in ways that so few did in the aftermath of 9/11 with their contributions to serve alongside Americans. They bled and fought alongside Americans. And these are our NATO allies, again, that we are obligated to defend. We don't go attack our allies and use force and send Americans into fight to seize their lands. That's not what we do. And if you ask the American people, should we do that? They'll tell you no. We're in a representative democracy, a constitutional republic for a reason. And I think when you go and talk to the American people, they don't want any of this. And the Republicans I serve with in the Congress ought to remember that.
Democratic Congressman Chris Deluzio of Pennsylvania, thank you very much for your time today.